Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dolphyn Boschman. I've been a certified holistic health practitioner for over 30 years. And one of my passions is holistic nutrition and traditional Chinese medicine. And so I got very interested in cleanses, which is our topic for this evening, when I was doing my training down in San Diego. And over about a 10-year time period, I tried every cleanse out there. Boxed cleanse, master cleanse, you name it. I did it with varying degrees of success and many failures, some actually life-threatening. So I did learn through trial and error and discovered what really worked, what really didn't. And so and then I had people curious about what I was doing every spring. And so I thought not only would it be fun, but also to help people not go through the bad things that I went through. So I just decided to share my experience and created the Infinite Freedom Guided Cleanse. And so that was 21 years ago. This is my 21st annual event coming up at the end of April, and I'm super excited to be doing it again for myself and for whoever wants to join me. I want to welcome our panel who will be helping me this evening with this topic. And first I want to thank you, Matt, my mentor and friend, for organizing this PowerPoint and the Zoom event. You always do such a beautiful job with these PowerPoints. It just adds so much to the webinar. So thank you for that. And my amazing mentor and friend, Cheryl Fitzharris, and my brother from another mother and colleague, Tim Walkowitz. So, so before we get started, I want to mention that this webinar is recorded. So if you have people that could not be here tonight, you'll have the opportunity to share this with them. And if you can't stay till the end, but you are interested in getting more information about the cleanse that happened, it's going to start April 24th this year. And so you can email me at info at dolphyn, DOLPHYN.ca. All right, Mac, I'm going to let you quickly go through some general information that we always like to start with in these webinars, and then we'll get on to the main topic.
Excellent. Thank you, Dolphyn. I want to apologize again to everybody. We had really hoped to do a live stream on Facebook with this thing, but as with all of these, we're learning every single time. And if nothing else, we are flexible. So thank you for your patience. Hey, we are going to be talking a little bit about Sunrider Foods as we always do. So I just want to remind everybody that none of the information provided in this webinar or presentation is intended to represent a diagnosis or cure of any illness or disease. Why should somebody consider Sunrider? First of all, Sunrider has been around for over 40 years. That's really unique in this industry where companies tend to come and go overnight. Sunrider has a 40-year track history, and with the new investment, I should say, in the new manufacturing facilities in Dallas, will be around for another 140 years. So this is a great company to be looking at. Sunrider operates in over 50 countries around the world, allowing any of us that want to right now the ability to have an international business. One of the things I love most about Sunrider is traveling to foreign countries, interacting with those around the world. And I feel blessed to have groups here in North America, Hungary, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And everybody, it seems, around the world these days knows somebody living in another country. So 50 countries around the world. Sunrider internally handles all of the research, development, and manufacturing for all of its products. And folks, again, that is unheard of in this industry. Most companies have a recipe and they will hand it off to a third party and say, go make my product for me. That is not the case in Sunrider. I'm going to say it again. Sunrider handles 100% of the research, development, and manufacturing of over 400 of what I consider the best health and beauty products available to us. Everything from whole food nutritionals to cleansing beverages to weight management to sports and fitness to green household and all natural skincare and cosmetics. And if you had to ask yourself right now if you were in the right place at the right time, folks, this is the beauty and the wellness industry is a $6 trillion worldwide industry. I can't even write out that many zeros. We are in the right place at the right time. Enough of this. Dolphyn, take us into the topic at hand tonight, please.
Awesome. Thanks, Mac. So the first question that I often get asked about cleansing is, why should I do this? Why would I consider doing a cleanse, and why in the spring? So generally, I think we get that itch to do spring cleaning, right? Here, as the snow melts and all the dirt and, you can't wait to get into the yard and clean out the yard, or get your, clean your car or clean the house. And our bodies are no different at this time of year, where it actually will also give us signs of the desire to take a rest and have some cleaning happen. And if we're listening to our body, that's awareness, we're aware of what our bodies are telling it, we can definitely see and hear those signs. And so some of those signs might be things like allergies, seasonal allergies, or low energy, indigestion, or just not feeling that you're digesting well, even kind of catching spring colds and things like that. So those are kind of some easy signs and symptoms that often come up in the spring, but maybe you don't have any of those. So let me ask you a question. If you were to grade yourself right now from 1 to 100, on that scale of how healthy you think you are, what number would you give yourself? And I want you to write that number down right now. So, just like a test, a grade from 0% to 100%, give yourself a percentage, a grade on how healthy you are. All right, so write that number down. And now let's look at some of the questions that are up on this slide. So do you feel run down? Are you kind of dragging yourself, or like I said, you're catching some, the latest flu or the latest cold? And then if you do you recover quickly, or do you just get over one thing and now you've caught something else, or you're dealing with something else? How about, do you always feel tired in the morning? Even if you slept through the night, you wake up and you have to reach for that cup of coffee or a stimulant to kind of get you going in the morning. Or going to bed. Do you have a hard time sleeping? Do you have a hard time falling asleep? Or you go to bed and then you wake up in the middle of the night and then you have to take something to help you sleep. And then again, I mentioned allergies, or chronic pain. Are you experiencing chronic pain? So now, based on those questions, does that grade change? So if it does, write another number down for yourself. So now if we look at the next slide, we're going to see a wellness scale. Now I know this is small, but I'll go through it. So I don't know about you, but when I went to school, 50% was not, sure, it was a passing grade, but it was certainly not acceptable. I always strove to be on the honor roll, which was 80% or higher. And actually to graduate from university, you had to have a 65% average or better. And yet what I find, especially with my clients, when, I'm talking to them and asking them about their wellness or their health, and they often say, oh yeah, I'm healthy, or I eat healthy, and I'm like, so I do a little digging. And so they'll often say, well, I rarely get sick, or I never get sick. And that's kind of like the benchmark of what they think is health, is not being sick. And I don't know if you can see, but on this wellness scale, that's a 50%, right? Is no symptoms, not being sick. And that actually is a really dangerous place to be. If that's your benchmark, if that's what you're saying is health, is that as long as I'm not sick, I'm healthy, that's really dangerous thought pattern, because we know for sure that there's lots of conditions and illnesses and diseases that can be percolating inside us without us having any clue until it's too late. So we don't want to just grade ourselves as I am healthy because I'm not sick. That's not good enough. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get to that 60% or higher. So 60% is high energy. This is where you have an abundance of energy throughout the day. You wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go. You can function throughout the day without having to take a bunch of stimulants. And you can sleep at night, again, without having to take a bunch of inhibitors to help you sleep. 70%, this is our healthy immune function. This does not mean that you're not sick, because let's face it, there's lots of pathogens out there. There's lots of flu bugs and viruses and bacteria. And if a virus or a bacteria or a fungus or some kind of pathogen gets inside of me, I absolutely want my immune system to deal with it. And so that might mean that I have an immune response, and that's great. But how long does it take my immune system to deal with it? So again, immune function is, I don't catch every little thing because it's catching it really early, but if it's something that is a bit stronger, I can recover quickly. Cell regeneration, cell protection, this is at the 80 to 90% level. Now, this is where, again, for example, cancer cells, we have all kinds of free radicals flowing in our bodies at any given time in our life. But if our cells our immune system's working properly and our cells are protected and regenerating properly, it can deal with that. So things like cancer can't start to form in our body. If we have an injury or we have surgery, we heal quickly. So that's where that cell regeneration, cell protection, that 80 to 90% level occurs. Okay. Now, so looking at your number that you gave yourself, does it fit in with what the criteria is? Now, the 50% or lower, so what's at the lower end? So 40%, unfortunately, I meet a lot of people at this level, low energy, fatigue. They don't sleep properly. They drag themselves through the day. They have to use stimulants like caffeine or sugar or things to keep them going throughout the day. We know a lot of people like that, I'm sure. 30%, this is where we are run down, we get every little cold and flu, we have a lot of pain and sickness. This is where chronic pain and things like that come into play. And then it really gets dangerous at that 20 to 10% level. And that's where we have a diagnosed disease or a serious condition. So again, for me, this was an eye-opener for me as well when I first started on my journey of wellness. And it was like, I want to be at that upper echelon, at that upper level. So let's ask the question of what is the majority of what makes us sick? And what is it that, and the majority of it is what we're putting in our bodies. So for example, if you can go to the next slide, Mac, we have, oh, sorry, I just forgot about this one. I forgot about this slide. This is absolutely perfect. This is absolutely, we all experience this. We all have stress in our lives. And it's how do we function and deal with stress? And again, this will tie into the next slide as well, of often we deal with stress by choosing things that aren't necessarily good for us. Maybe we use a medication to help us deal with stress. Maybe we use comfort food or foods that aren't necessarily good for us, but we're just stressed and we just want something that we think will make us feel good. And maybe in the short term, it satisfies our taste buds, or things like alcohol and things that kind of satisfy us or help in the moment, but in the long run, just adds more stress to our lives. And so, in my cleanse, we'll talk about this a little later, but we don't just focus on food and the physical, but also how stress affects us in the mental and the emotional areas. And so I love these things that we can do to control stress: movement, exercise, laughing, music, meditation, nature time. And these are things that we definitely talk about in the cleanse classes. And I give real tools, real activities that can help us easily and just with more health-minded ways of dealing with stress. Next slide, Mac.
Yep. Well, maybe. There we go.
So like I said, we often will reach for, now for some people, this is kind of like just even their daily activity or their daily lifestyle is eating a lot of processed foods, and so then they use maybe some vitamins, isolated vitamins, or even medication to help counterbalance these things. I'm going to bring it over to Cheryl or Mac or Tim. You want to add anything to this concept of why we're so sick in this modern age?
And I just wanted to mention that I remember when I first got into Sunrider and I went to the nature path, and he asked me to bring me, because I was into health back then, all the vitamins that I was taking. And I thought I was doing a great thing with everything I was taking. And he proceeded to tell me to throw them out because my body was out of balance because of it. I was just plugging up my body with isolates. So, yeah, even though we think we're doing something really healthy when we take vitamins and minerals, it's not always best.
Absolutely. And again, like what Max spoke to at the very beginning is, what are these isolated vitamins? What's the raw ingredients? And often they're just very cheap, and they're not good quality ingredients to begin with, and then they get isolated. So not the greatest, definitely not the greatest choices. And then another big stress factor is probably the number one favorite food, but it's actually what I would consider a legalized poison, and that's sugar. And sugar is incredibly addictive and incredibly inflammatory. And Mac, what can you share about, just the effects of sugar?
Oh boy, oh boy. Interesting, Dolphyn. A little backstory, just very quick. One of the things that really launched me on paying attention more than I ever had in the past to what I was putting in my body was 2 or 3 years ago, going through your cleanse #1, which we'll talk about later on and give you my testimony there. But it was also joining Ed and Jude's sugar awareness group. And I had no idea how many different names sugar was disguised under, okay? Or the various things that it could do to my body. And, processed sugar is not our friend, okay? There's no doubt about it, even though it comes in so much stuff. And Tim, you probably have some stuff to say on the subject of sugar too, but when you look at sugar, it can cause so many bad things in our body, anything from weight gain to type 2 diabetes, to tooth decay, to heart disease, to inflammation, as you mentioned, Finn, and even our skin aging because it breaks down collagen, okay, in the skin. Not great stuff. So where can we get the right kind of sugars? And, fruits, vegetables, honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, etc., all because they're packed with phytonutrients, they're natural forms. And as you were coming back to in the isolate conversation in the last slide, our bodies can only assimilate things that are natural, not isolates, okay? So we're looking for things, and even in terms of sugar, what's natural coming into our body. Some detox tips, again, start with breakfast in the morning, get your blood sugar in shape so you're not up and down all day long. Start small, don't give up sugar immediately. Go ration yourself off of it. Eat more healthy fats, add proteins, snack on fruits and vegetables instead of grabbing a candy bar or something. Swap out your soft drinks, soda, don't even want to go there, but swap out what you're drinking for something that's more appropriate for your body, like, well, for instance, Fortune Delight and Cali that we'll talk about in a little bit. And stay hydrated, drink water. That helps flush the body so much better than anything else. And I'm going to add one more here too, and that's switch to stevia, okay? And even though it's not one of our featured products, it's something that I think deserves honorable mention, okay, in this particular stat, because Sunrider has the best stevia on the market. Again, sugar-free, rich in antioxidants, no chemicals or preservatives, 0 calories. And for those of you that don't know the difference, we have 2 different types, Sun Nectar and Sunny Dew. Sun Nectar is the concentrated raw extract from stevia. It has a darker color because of the natural occurring pore zero chlorophyll, and it has a slight licorice taste. It's my personal favorite. Okay, Sunny Dew is the purified extract, which is lighter in color, higher in concentration. And again, both of them are fabulous products. I went way too far on that. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say on sugar?
Well, that was awesome, Mac. And these are kind of the topics that we do discuss in the classes, right? As we do deep dives into certain products and food groups and things, and not only what are the detrimental effects, but also what can we do instead. So you just did a great tutorial or an example of what goes on in the nutritional aspect of my classes. So when I was introduced to Sunrider over 30 years ago, I was an athlete. I thought I was healthy, like I said. I started learning about traditional Chinese medicine. I started making some dietary changes, had my own cleansing experiences. And so then my body started taking on a whole new experience of vitality, awareness, feeling good. And again, it's that saying, you don't know what you don't know. So I thought I was healthy until I started making some changes. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I feel this much better. And then it's like, oh, I feel this much better. And so it is one of those things that you kind of have to experience for yourself. We can talk about it a lot, but at the end of the day, you have to be your own chemist. You have to be your own investigator and scientist, and put yourself through some experimental things, taking certain things out, putting things in. And so that's what I did for a long time. I used so many different products. I worked in a health food store, so I got tons of products to try. But what I found is it brought me back to Sunrider. And the reason was that just the experience proved to me that it worked. And so, we can definitely give you lots of facts and lots of stuff. You're going to get lots of information tonight, but it wasn't until I had that experience that I realized, wow, this really works. And so that's why then I started to just exclusively use these products in my cleanse along with table foods, because I got the best results and it was safe. And so Cheryl, I'd like you to tell us what really sets Sunrider apart in regards to the philosophy of regeneration.
Thank you, Finn. Well, what is our philosophy of regeneration and why does it set us apart from anything else? Well, if we nourish our bodies with a regular combination of whole food nutrients and cleansing beverages, our bodies will not only be in balance and healthy, but they'll repair, renew, and regenerate themselves naturally. And with Sunrider, we have, as you can see on the screen, our owners and founders who are experts in the field of health and science. They're doctors, pharmacists, organic chemists. So the family is all positioned to administer everything that goes on in Sunrider themselves without hiring people to do it for them. And they choose 100% natural ingredients from herbs grown to their high standard, and they don't compromise. Their expertise enables our products to be concentrated using a 9-step proprietary process in their facilities. And like Mac was saying earlier, we do all of our own manufacturing, so we are totally in control. And every step in Sunrider's process is to the highest standard in the industry. And I believe that this is what sets us apart, and it's what drew me to being with Sunrider for the last 35 years.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. So now let's get a little more in depth into the season. So in Chinese medicine, so Sunrider is based on traditional Chinese medicine, and that's what I'm trained in as well. So it's a perfect fit. So everything relates to nature in Chinese medicine. And so each season correlates with an organ system. We are part of nature. Nature is part of us. And so we just finished winter, which is the water season, our kidney bladder season. Now we've moved into spring, which is the wood element, liver, gallbladder. And so the two main cleansing organs of our body, the kidneys and the liver, they support each other and work together, just like water feeds wood, water feeds the trees, right? And so we're going to briefly just focus on the wood element tonight. And so you can see the characteristics here. So we've got green is the color, makes sense. Some spring, everything is, the trees are budding, the grass is getting greener, the little plants are starting to come to the surface. So green is our color. We want to be eating lots of green foods, lots of green veggies. Sour is the flavor. So whether you really love sour or hate sour, that can show an imbalance in the liver system. So we don't want to have too much or too little, but we want to, just like Goldilocks, we want just right, just enough sour to nourish the liver. The sense organ is our eyes. So if we have issues with our eyes, we definitely need to address the liver and nourish the liver to help support our eye health. And the connective tissue, the body parts, is the connective tissue, which is our ligaments and tendons, which again is interesting because in the kidney season is element, it's the joints. So our connective tissue supports the joint system. So again, they're working together. And so often we can have a lot of chronic pain and stiffness, and it's because of that connective tissue. So again, we're looking at our liver health. And then the emotion of the season is anger. And so this time of year, we can maybe be a little more short-tempered, and we might not even be aware of it until we realize, oh yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little more snippy, or just more irritable. And one thing that was very interesting for me, because, my best friend Tim is, we're twins, right? And so, and he was sharing with me, this was years ago, but how around the equinox, men definitely, feel things more. Not that we don't as women, we all do, but it's more prevalent during the equinoxes. Now, Tim, what does equinox mean?
Well, thank you, Finn. Well presented. Equinox, let's just break it up a little bit. Equin meaning meaning equal. And what it basically means, it sounds like a complicated word, but it really isn't. It just means equal portions of day and night in balance. So 12 and 12. And that's basically equinox. There's a definition. And of course, it's springtime, and it's correlating with the liver, which we're talking about right now. And having a healthy immune system and all the connected tissue in our eyes. I know I'm being redundant here a little bit, but it's kind of nice to have it from just a little different perspective. And also being aware of that emotion, because as soon as, depending on how we spend that energy in any emotion, in this case, anger, it can really deplete ourselves. And we want to be aware of it so we can change the momentum of that as soon as we can, just through awareness and some nice breathing. And then, of course, taking it right back into what foods we can have. In this case, we're talking about alpha-20C, and I'm just making sure I got this covered. But that's equinox in a nutshell. And it's just, and one thing again, just as you mentioned for men, we have, it's a hormonal, it's a big hormonal shift that happens every season, but equinox, or the springtime shift, is again, we're all very sensitive, but men are used, like women are, to having that hormonal shift every month. When someone hits us, we're a little more, we might be a little more, something most people wouldn't really like to be around. Not kind of pointing my fingers at the girls. Anyway, so it's good for us to be aware, and all of us to be able to pay attention and being able to direct that energy in the best way, our chi, or our energy in the best way possible, and through intention, and which helps us take the next action we're about to take. And then once we have that little bit of awareness and a bit of education you get with some people who've been through it, like Finn has, 20 some odd times, holy mackerel, to help us help ourselves. And that takes us right into a little more chatting about the liver, I think, is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Well, and just when you brought that to my awareness about, men, it was just like, it helps us, first of all, it helps men to understand, oh yeah, but it also helps us as women to, know that the men in our lives, and that can be, your children, your male, I was talking to some teachers, and they're like, yeah, the boys are just like being more rebellious than normal. And it's just like, this is kind of just normal. As long as we know in advance and have that awareness, then we can address it rather than it just catching us by surprise or thinking it's some kind of abnormal thing. So I really always appreciated you sharing that with me, Tim. So yeah, this is a beautiful slide of the actual liver. So the liver in Chinese medicine is considered the general of the body because it has so many functions and responsibilities. It communicates with all the organ systems. And so when it's out of balance, definitely everything quickly goes also out of balance. And the liver, the organ itself, it is responsible for literally purifying everything before it goes into the body. So the blood that comes from the stomach and the intestines, it has to filter through the liver, and then the nutrients will then get sent into our body for us to use, and then the toxins will get sent ideally to the kidneys to be eliminated. And so if you can imagine that, you know, the amount of toxicity that we might put into our body, it's going to put a lot of pressure and insult to that liver, and can create a lot of injury to the liver depending on how much toxicity is running through that liver, because it has to purify everything. Another big job of the liver is to regulate the balance of our hormones. So that can be everything from our sex hormones, thyroid hormones, adrenal and cortisol hormones. And so again, if it's not in balance, it's gonna not remove any excess or transform it properly. So what happens is now we're at risk of emotional imbalances. So again, that the hormonal health, that endocrine system is a direct relationship with the liver. So the liver is such an important organ, and we want to give it the rest and the attention and the nurturing that it needs. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what not to do and, you know, things that aren't helpful for our body and for the liver, but let's get into some solutions now. So what foods nourish our bodies, and in particular, the liver gallbladders in particular. And like I said, green is the favorite color of the liver. So we see lots of green foods here, and alkaline. So 80% of our diet needs to be alkaline, and that's plant-based. So lots of veggies, lots of fruits. That's not to say that we don't have any acid. We need about 20% or so so that's any animal product. All animal product is acid. So that's everything from meat, fish, eggs, dairy. It's all acid. So on our plate, we want 80% of our plate to be alkaline, and 20%, no more than 20% to be acid. So we can see beautiful produce here, and we eat tons of produce and fruits during this cleanse. People think that you're not going to be eating for 10 days, and that is not true. You will be eating tons. It's just about fine-tuning what we're eating. And another thing is, you might think, oh, this is going to be so boring, it's not going to be yummy. And I guarantee you, like, I give lots of really awesome recipes and just ways of making everything taste delicious. And again, you're retraining your taste buds as well through this experience. But while we're eating tons of produce, we have to make sure that we're not ingesting more toxicity. And that can happen if we don't cleanse our products properly, whether it's organic or not, because there's no such thing as organic air or organic rain or organic transportation, or somebody touches that produce, you know, and then, or it falls on the floor and you don't know. So we have to properly cleanse our foods. And Sunrider was the very first company to create a fruit and veggie rinse. And it is still the best on the market. And I know, Tim, I've had fruit, food that you have washed in this product. Tell me why you love fruit and veggie rinse.
Oh, well, for selfish reasons, for starters, makes everything, it brings out the natural flavor in food. It's like you have no color of any herbicides, pesticides, chemicals, waxes, anything all naturally gets rinsed off, for lack of better words. And what's so great is with Dr. Chen is he makes these foods they're non-toxic. Like you can actually use them internally if you want to. I won't get into that because that's another whole section unto itself. But again, one of the consequences of making the food taste great is that it lasts a really long time. And it's such a simple process. And even when I start getting ready to put my vegetables in fruit and veggie rinse, I have this little dopamine rush of, oh, I'm so happy to be putting my food in this stuff because I know the result that's going to happen. A little testimonial, not my own, but from my father. I gave him a smaller bottle to give a try, and he wouldn't live without it. And he used to like making like veggie submarine sandwiches, and he had all kinds of veggies in there, right? And he used to just be amazed at how long the produce would last in the fridge. And again, not just last, when you bite into it, you still get that little splashiness of nice fresh vegetables, or a lettuce, or romaine lettuce. Our last little experience was, and with you, is doing blueberries. And wow, like it's just amazing. They just like they're already lovely little delicious gems of brain food and antioxidants and everything else. And digestive aid, everything else. They're delicious. The bottom line is forget about all those. Yeah, there's all kinds of wonderful benefits, but foods that you eat with this turn out to be that much more delicious. And you feel rest assured that you're going to be safe in how well this product works, and you're not ingesting anything foreign that you don't need to be putting into your body, and that leaves one with a great sense of satisfaction. So there's my little take on fruit veggie rinse. Will never live without it.
Absolutely awesome. And I love what you just said about being safe. Like it is clinically tested to kill E. coli, salmonella, and then all the herbicides and pesticides. So yeah, you can feel good and safe. And those blueberries, like Derek doesn't even really like blueberries, and he was eating them like crazy. They just tasted so good. So love this product. All right. So the cleanse is, like I said, it's a progressive process. So it's not that we're not eating for 10 days. We're slowly coming off of, slowly eating solids and then slowly coming off of them. So once we start to get to our liquid days, then really we get to really experience more of the Sunrider foods, a lot of fortified liquid tonics. And I know all of our favorites in Sunrider are the two signature beverages that Sunrider makes for the kidney and liver, and that's Fortune Delight and Cali. I know all of our panel members love to talk about these two products because they are our favorite. Tim, I'm going to start with you. You pick one. You tell me why you love it. Go.
Oh, it's so hard. I'm going to go with Cali, my first Cali story. Okay, this is my favorite story to tell because it was my real introduction to Sunrider. I had just started learning the Chinese 5-element theory. I'm 26 years old at the time. And all of a sudden, I discovered this food that comes from a company that follows the 5-element theory. Oh, we may as well give it a shot. And that between Innie and myself, we had this opportunity. And I remember that the recording studio used to have at least one 48-hour day a week. Like when you're young, you do things crazy. When you got a new business, it's a new baby, you're trying to make it work. But, on that second night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm literally drink. I don't know what else to do. I haven't educated myself well enough, but I didn't know what else to do. And other than drink coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning. When you've been drinking coffee all day, and what caffeine does is, of course, it releases glycogen from your liver to raise your blood sugar level so you can be all fired up. Well, there's a point where coffee won't work anymore because your glycogen reserve is gone. Okay, and I must have reached that point several times because there's a point where you just feel beside yourself and you're kind of a prima donna at 3 o'clock in the morning. Then then Cali came into my life. I started drinking Cali. I said, well, I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to drink Cali the way I drink coffee because I'm dependent on this thing because I didn't have any other foods really. So I did. And I have to say, on that 3 o'clock in the morning, on the 40th hour, it was the singer that was the prima donna, not me. And I had the patience of Job going on. It was great. So, and did that sell me on Cali? Boom, shabam. That went into New Plus, went into Quinary, but that was my introduction. It was enough to get my attention to make me continue wanting to explore it. And I could say a lot more about Fortune Delight, but let's reserve that for one other in case there might be somebody else there. But do I love Cali? Won't live without it. It's been over 30 years, and I will never live without it.
Awesome. Well, I have to say, Tim, I mean, that you guys introduced me with a bag of Cali, and I had my own like all night having to stay awake experience with Cali, and that sold me on it, right? So that was so cool. Cheryl, Mac, talk about Fortune Delight. What can we say?
Mac, are you going?
No, go for it, Cheryl.
Oh, I was going to say my favorite is to combine them both.
Oh yeah.
I love it. They call it Emperor's Tea. And the thing for me was I never used to drink enough. And then when I fell in love with Cali and Fortune, especially together, I love it together. I know I drink nonstop now, and I notice a difference in my skin, in my energy level. And it tastes so good, and there's so many flavors to choose from, and a little squirt of our stevia, and oh my gosh, best drinks ever.
Excellent. Hey, just so we don't spend too much time, I know we had a lot to cover tonight. For me, Fortune Delight, martial arts background. I used to get cramps all the time after exercising a lot, sweating, perspiring during classes. Fortune Delight flushes out the lactic acid, flushes out the fat from the body. Enough on Fortune Delight and Cali. Time to move on, right, Jen?
Yes, but I have to say, if no other product that if people are on a budget for the cleanse, if at the very least these two products, you'll be okay. So yeah, but let's move on. So we just recently did a webinar on the spring element, and I spoke in much more detail about New Plus. So you guys can rewatch that webinar. But why I've brought New Plus in as for spring more than I have in the past is that in Chinese medicine, there is a condition called dampness, and this can occur especially in the spring and summer because there's more moisture in the air. And what happens is if we have an excess of moisture or dampness in our bodies, it suppresses our yang energy, it suppresses our qi. And so then again, we're not feeling a lot of vitality in it. And it's hard for us to get motivated. And there's three main ingredients in New Plus that are so exceptional at helping to dry out the body or decrease the dampness. Now, how do you know if you're damp in your body? It's excessive mucus. So do you have a runny nose all the time, especially in the morning? Are you blowing your nose a lot? Phlegm in your throat? Are you like constantly clearing your throat? So a lot of like that phlegminess or discharge in the sinuses, or yeast in the digestive system. Do you have an overgrowth of yeast? These are all symptoms of dampness, and New Plus is an ancient formula that really helps to nourish the connective tissue, liver again, and also help the body decrease. It's in the Chinese yam, the koya seed, and the lotus root and seed are astringent herbs, which means they are drying herbs to help to decrease that excessive dampness in the body. All right, moving on. We now have, I think it's quinary. Yes, so quin is Latin for 5. And so again, we want to nourish all 5 organ systems together. This formula is so unique and so powerful, and it's in food to balance our body completely. I challenge you to write down 50 different vegetables. If you can write down 50 different vegetables, I will be seriously impressed. But that's what's in this formula: 50 different vegetables, herbs to nourish the 5 organ systems. Plus, as Cheryl had shared, everything's concentrated in Sunrider, so we've got at least 10 pounds to 1. So if you can imagine, just one small package or one small capsule has 50 different herbs in it, concentrated to at least a minimum of 10 times. I mean, it blows my mind how much is packed in this particular formula. So we want to have that foundation. We want to have that take the Quinary, which nourishes all 5 organ systems. Absolutely. This is actually my multivitamin. I use this as a multivitamin because it nourishes all my organ systems. But there's times where we need extra for certain organ systems. For me, this winter, I did something new that I had never done before. I got into the habit of using the Assimilate, which is for the digestive system. I'd open up a few capsules, make a tea, and drink it with my meal or after a meal. And wow, what a difference it made in regenerating and strengthening my digestive system. This is very different than taking a digestive enzyme. Again, taking a digestive enzyme weakens the body because the body's like, oh, I don't have to make enzymes. She's already taken one for me. As opposed to taking a food like Assimilate, it encourages your digestive system to produce the enzymes it needs to break down food. So I've been loving this formula that I've been using for the last couple of months. The respiratory system, I use this with especially with clients who have issues with any kind of respiratory problems. If you have somebody who coughs, if they take a couple of capsules of this, I'm telling you, the cough stops. It is amazing. Sinus problems, people who are smokers, anything to do with respiratory, sinus, this formula is amazing. All right, we've got, Tim mentioned alpha-20C as the immune, the wood formula. Tim, I know you took this through the winter. Do you have anything to share about that?
Didn't have a sniffle other than shoveling piles and piles of snow and the natural amount of, I'd say I would say the damp element was leaving me faster than it could get assembled in me. So no, alpha-20, and again, food for the immune system that's functioning in your liver to help create those killer T cells. To make a long story short, it was awesome. What can I say?
Awesome, thanks. Cheryl, talk to us about circulatory LifeStream.
LifeStream is nourishes your circulatory system with water element herbs and helps to promote balance and fluidity throughout the body. It also supports the body's digestive system and cleansing process with naturally derived antioxidants and phytonutrients. And LifeStream can relieve symptoms of coughs, colds, nausea, digestive spasms. I usually like to put 2 capsules twice a day, along with my Quinary in my Cali Fortune drink. And it's an amazing product. And in Canada, ours doesn't say it's for the circulatory system. Ours says it's for the digestive system, but it's for both.
Yeah, awesome. And Mac, finally, the endocrine system.
Absolutely. You know, and just generally speaking, I love the fact that we have the choice to pick these individual formulas based on how our body is feeling at a particular time. And, you know, I have to say, I think COVID is what did it for me in traveling before that, but I've always added extra alpha-20C and Conco into my daily regimen of Sunrider foods, just because I know my body needs those things. And I have to tell you, Tim, I know you talked about alpha. Love it too, man. I'm eating it right out of the stick pack now. It has a great mocha taste. And again, it's wonderful. To the point, Prime Again. Let's talk about that for just a second. I'm going to be very brief here. Prime Again, as you reminded us all, Finn, really nourishes the endocrine system of the body. And we talk about the endocrine system, we're talking about a number of glands: the pituitary, the thyroid, the parathyroid, the adrenal, the pancreas, the ovaries, and the testes. And again, all of these glands have an influence on our body and what's going on. But what I like about Prime Again is, again, Sunrider has formulated it with fire element herbs, something you've talked about even in Nucleus, like Chinese yam, the mushroom poria, paper mulberries, a flowering plant that again provides vitamin C and a number of other health benefits, including iron. A wonderful product. For me, I really didn't think until this last summer, okay, that Prime Again was something I ever needed. I'm a guy, right? So I didn't even think about endocrine system so much. What really had me focus on this was coming back to a word you've used many times earlier in the presentation, and that's the word awareness. I was aware of what I was looking for in terms of imbalances in my body. And what I found was around joy and anger and so forth. And Prime Again really helped me come into balance in terms of that system. And my wife is forever thankful that I discovered Prime again. So anyway, enough of that one.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's move on to dandelion root. Now, dandelions are naturally, they're the first plants that come out in the spring. And so it's a good natural thing to eat. But what's amazing about dandelion root is how it strengthens our liver. And it is perfect for the cleanse, but we can use it as a daily tonic as well. Cheryl, can you tell us a little bit about Sunrider's dandelion root?
I sure can. I know when we mention dandelion, we want to head for the lawnmower to get rid of the pesky little critter. But did you know this flowering plant has a long history of therapeutic use? Dandelion root contains essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals to support our overall health. It's loaded with antioxidants to keep those free radicals in check. It's a rich source of iron, a key component of hemoglobin, a protein in our blood that carries oxygen to all tissues and organs. Supports digestion, reduces inflammation, and like you said, Finn, it protects the liver. Sunrider dandelion is super concentrated, so a little goes a long way. And what I like to do is open a couple of capsules first thing in the morning in my Cali. So you can see, Finn, dandelion is not so pesky after all.
No, it isn't. Awesome. Thank you. All right, moving on. This is one of my favorite products, and that is Evergreen, I think is our next slide. And this is love Evergreen. It is liquid chlorophyll. And what sets this apart, I don't know any other company that keeps it in a stabilized fat soluble state, which is actually so that your liver can metabolize it. If it's water soluble, your body is not metabolizing all the goodness that is in the chlorophyll. And so this is like liquid sunshine. Chlorophyll helps to build hemoglobin in the blood. So we're talking iron, and oxygen. So people that have low energy, anemic, especially us ladies around our cycles, helps with energy, cools the body if we have a lot of heat in our body. It is such an amazing, it tastes delicious. And I have been missing it. We've been without it for a bit. And we may not have enough of it for the cleanse. So I've really been leaning on spirulina as well, because it is also an amazing concentrated green superfood. And Tim, are you able to read what it says here on the
I can
slide?
actually read it. I can read it from here.
Awesome.
So
He's got the best eyes, Tim. I gotta say, like,
what can I say? I don't wear glasses, and just my liver's working okay.
absolutely.
That's what not drinking for about 40 years will do.
Awesome.
Anyways,
Yeah,
spirulina, it's worded so well here that I think this is just the best way to do it. Spirulina, the original superfood. Spirulina provides an array of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. It's particularly rich in beta carotene, a precursor to vitamin A, vitamin K, and easily digestible iron. Spirulina is commonly taken to support overall health, the immune system, and physical stamina. Sunrider spirulina is cultivated in hygienic tanks and ponds over the latest scientific conditions. It is important to know how the spirulina you consume is grown, because it can take on contaminants from its environment, which is true. But that's one thing about all Sunrider products, is the amount of attention to detail to make sure everything is grown to its most optimal level, with no different with spirulina.
Exactly. It's clean, it's safe, and it's a beautiful superfood. Love it. And finally, the piece de resistance, Mac, we definitely need gut health. It's most important. All health really starts in the gut. And so we need to have healthy flora, good bacteria. It's absolutely essential. And Vita Dolphins, Sunrider's probiotic, is so unique and effective. Tell us why.
Absolutely. Thank you. You know, I will want to talk about Vita Dolphins. Just one last follow up with Tim on the Spirulina. Tim, I'm like you, man. I love that product as well. And it's something I've been using every day. And where I've noticed the benefit is just a couple of things. My nails are lovely, by the way. Okay. And my hair, I've seen fuller hair happening on my head. Now, I'm not going to turn around for that little tiny spot in the back, but even that seems to be filling in a little bit too. So again, that's my testimony on Spirulina. Vita Dolphins, right on. Dolphyn, this is something I use every day as well. It's actually the very first food I put in my body every single morning, okay? And it is a wonderful probiotic. A lot of people, I think, get wrapped up when they go into a grocery store or some kind of health food store, and they see these huge numbers, 20 billion bacteria, blah, 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 blah. And they go, well, heck, you only talk about 20 million live culture bacteria in yours. Why don't I take the one with 20 billion instead, you know? And what they don't understand, and one of the really unique differences with Sunrider comes back to formulation and the brilliance of Dr. Chen by putting an apple pectin coating on the bacteria, which will actually allow it to travel through the harsh stomach acids into the lower gut where it's truly needed in the body before it can be assimilated. And again, Dr. Chen, thank you so much for thinking this stuff through, because again, people will go into the store and they'll see these things written on bottles and they'll feel like they've really got a great product. And maybe they are, okay, but a lot of times, again, excess just gets flushed out of your body. So take something that will actually make it into your gut where it can be assimilated and effectively used by the body. And that is Sunrider's Vita Dolphins.
Perfect. Absolutely. And that is so key, is that, yeah. And you feel the difference. You'll know that it's actually working because you feel the difference. So don't get, caught up in marketing stuff. This,
Absolutely.
to get to
funny, Dolphyn. I know we're coming to the close of the call and everything, but I just want to, for a second, you mentioned feeling. And for me, I like looking at ingredients. I like understanding what I'm taking, but for me, it's the feel of what I put in my body that means so much to me. And this is 3 different products specifically that have always felt so good for me: Vita Dolphins, Fortune Delight, and New Plus. Man, when I eat New Plus, my body just feels good. Okay, simple as that. I don't have to sell it any more than that to myself or anybody else. It just makes me feel good. Thank you for that.
Amen. So those are some of the main products we use during the cleanse, and again, we haven't touched on every single one. And do you have to use all of them? No, it's just, again, I work with the individual based on your goals, based on your budget. But for those of you that are in Sunrider, you may already use all these products on a daily basis. But what is so powerful is when you essentially only have those foods for 10 days, you get a deeper experience and appreciation for how they work. And for those of you who have not tried Sunrider foods, it will give you a wonderful test or experience of what regenerative foods can really do, can really feel like in your body. And it definitely makes the 10-day journey much easier, more profound, more empowering. So again, we work with table foods, we work with Sunrider foods, and that combination is, I feel, what really helps support the physical aspect of the journey of the 10 days. However, this cleanse is not just based on the physical. And when I started doing cleanses with other people and formulating these classes, that's where I got super excited about sharing other aspects of my experience of training and personal experiences working with different mentors. And so we really do a deep dive into the mental, emotional, and spiritual body. We take that 10 days to just ideally turn off the distracting, TV and social media and stuff, and really just get into ourselves. Where do I want to go? How am I feeling? Just that awareness, the accountability, and that empowerment. And that happens by just doing that deep dive into different exercises. We do Qigong, we do we do medicine wheel, we do all kinds of really interesting and I'm hoping effective exercises to bring our awareness to that emotional, mental, and spiritual body. And Mac and Cheryl, you have gone through this process with me. I'd like to end tonight's formal lecture part by you maybe just giving a testimony of the experience that you had. We've all had great experiences for many years with the Sunrider foods, but talk a little bit about what you got out of the classes. So Cheryl, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Vin. Like you, in the past, I've done many kinds of cleanses and I actually didn't even stick with them. But then when I plugged into yours, and it wasn't even like a cleanse, it was like I was being educated on so many different areas that I wasn't aware of. Your knowledge is just outstanding. And it was very easy to do because of using the foods and also the great recipes and suggestions you had for other foods. So I never felt deprived. And when I was finished, I just felt so much lighter. And I just felt like I had done something really, really good for my body. And I did it again.
Awesome. Thank you. And Matt?
Yeah, a lot of the same. And Cheryl, I'm not going to echo everything that you said because I felt the same way in so many of those areas. I want to go back to just a couple of things. First of all, the very first slide on this presentation are three things that Dolphyn, your cleanse really brought to me. Number one was an awareness of what I was putting in my body and what I needed to do in terms of cleansing. The other thing is you made it very easy in terms of being accountable. It wasn't hard pressure. It wasn't anything else. It was show up at these times for meetings. If you can't, some of them are recorded. You could watch after the fact, follow the basic rules and principles of the cleanse, and you get so much out of it. And then it was the empowerment that was brought to me by having gone through that. And again, I can't thank you enough. I'm looking at the dates right now, and I'm not planning on doing, well, I am planning on doing a little traveling, so I may have to finish the cleanse in Vancouver, but I think it ends like a few days before that. So I should be good to go with that one. And I'm just excited about it again, because it was such a wonderful reset for my body, if you will. And the last thing I just want to share, and I know it's going to sound so darn silly when you think about, okay, what's one key takeaway, and there were 100 of them, Finn, but for me, it was probably the most silly one. And that was the idea of truly chewing my food slowly when I came back onto solid foods to gain that true sense of what I'm eating and the flavors and the textures and the senses and everything going on. So that was my silly conclusion to the whole darn thing. But thank you so much for providing this opportunity for us all.
Oh, thank you. Well, and my mentor, Timmy there, he's the one that he is my example, because he's always chew your food. So yeah, he's my great.
So it ain't silly.
Yeah.
No,
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone. Thank you for your time. I'm going to end tonight by, here's the dates of the cleanse. April, I always like to do it after Easter and before Mother's Day, try to sneak it in there. So this year it's April 24th to May 3rd. The best way to sign up for the cleanse is first to email me. So then I can gather, I'll know who's, because otherwise if you just say I'm going to do it, I'll forget to send you information. So if you're interested, even if you're just interested in getting some extra information, email me info@dolphyn.ca. I can send you the price list. The classes, I like to keep the classes price low so that then again, you'll have more budget for your foods. But I believe that I offer a lot of value in those classes. Classes price low in those classes. And then we can talk about your goals, your budget for ordering your Sunrider products. And again, you're just remembering that this will be your grocery list for 10 days. So that helps to kind of, you just transfer money that you'd be spending on groceries and you're just going to reroute it into your cleanse products. And yeah, and I feel free to share this with other people. We do the classes via Zoom, so people from all over can enjoy this process. And again, I just want to thank everyone for your time. I know you have lots of different things that you could be doing, and for you to show up tonight really means a lot to me. And I hope to see you during our cleanse. So thank you panel. Thank you guys for supporting and helping me out here. And yeah, we'll end this.
Sorry. I'm out. I think I muted. I don't know what happened with the muting. Sorry, Finn. Unmute yourself again. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Oh, you did mute me.
I don't know how I did that. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. But we'll end the recording now.
Yes, we will. Bang.